Holy cow. Hello, everybody. Bob Lusk, the Pond Boss. You never believe where I'm quarantined today. Hanging out with Ron Ardoin. Ardoin. I can never get it right, even when I look at him. Say it again.
Ardoin.
Like
Boudin.
Boudin. Ardoin. Ron Ardoin. You guys see him on the show all the time. Look at there. There's Brian Lawrence and Jason Nipstad checking in. So, guys, you know the drill. Hey, click like. Put hashtag Pond Boss Magazine in the comments section and share this to your timeline. You'll be eligible for a drawing for a Pond Boss hat and a Pond Boss mug. What about this mug?
Keeps hot things hot, cold things cold. Bob doesn't know how it does it, but it does it. We have a Sawzall we're gonna put to it after the show to figure it out.
You know, I got a call from Ron about 10 days ago, and he's got a friend. Let me tell you about Ron. First of all, Ron's been a Pond Boss subscriber now for, holy cow, for a long, long time. I guess you first saw Pond Boss in 2007?
6 or 7.
Yep, and then you subscribed to the magazine. Did you pay for the subscription?
Believe I did. Believe I did, you know.
He's still paying for it.
Yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it.
And so anyway, here we are fast forwarding. Good, you got 13 years and he's still at it. But one thing that's cool is he's got a job that allows him to get into the pond management business. So he's kind of been easing his way into the pond management business for how long?
This is my second year actually with customers.
Okay. So he's been studying and learning about pond management for over a decade, and now he's hung out a shingle and he's kind of getting his feet wet, so to speak. I guess that's a fair statement.
Yeah, fair statement.
And we're hanging out here near Iowa, Louisiana.
Iowa. Just say
Iowa? Y'all ain't got no Hawkeyes here.
Just say Hecker Road.
Hecker
Road we're on. Hecker Road. Just say
we're on Hecker Road, way back out in the middle of nowhere. We're quarantined. We're keeping our social distance of
6 feet.
6 feet.
I'm actually behind him 6 feet.
Yeah, so
that's why I look so small.
That's right. Which is the way it goes.
I'm really a big old guy.
See? Look at there. There's Leanne checking in. Tim Jackson lives over there in the Carolinas. He's a Purina Mills rep over there.
Oh, good.
So I'm gonna see if I can find this thing on this Pond Boss Facebook page so we can see who all's on and what's going on. I thought it'd be kind of fun today where we could actually be on a pond site. So we're out here in acreage. We're what, 25 miles northeast of Lake Jackson? Is that right? Give or take a little bit. Well, we don't want to give away the secret places, you know. There's Chris Chavetta, Trona Madonna. I see Trona Madonna, Fred Bingham, and 9 other people have joined in. Frank James is near Shreveport. There's Josie Lancaster, Ola. It's funny because Josie and her husband Wayne, oftentimes they're working and they live around the Austin area, and I'm sure she's hunkered down avoiding the coronavirus. And Wayne is probably in another city on his job, hunkered away from the coronavirus. So what do they do on Wednesdays? They have a date. They have a date,
yeah.
Date night. Their date night. So they have a little wine, which, look at here. Here we go.
Yeah.
And
I'm trying to figure out where I look on this thing.
Here we go, right here.
There you go.
Look right there.
There you go. It's like my wife trying to teach me how to take selfies and stuff. I don't know where to look.
And we got a goblet. So, holy cow, we're going to do that. Let's see here. What else? Who else we got? Saw Chris Chavetta checking in from St. Louis. I got to talk to him on the phone. Shane McIntyre's checking in. Tim Stewart's over in Florida today. Talked to Tim on the phone a while ago for a little bit. He's found tilapia in his pond that he renovated over there in Florida. Well, you know what I thought we'd talk about today is, since we're hanging out with Ron, and we're at Ron's Caban, and we'll show you what the Caban looks like. He built it with his hands, and you got calluses? Yeah.
I do.
Yes, he does. He's got calluses. Yep. Ron works in an oil refinery part of the month, and then he does some pond management part of the month. And down here in Louisiana, he was kind of commiserating the fact that they don't have winter.
Don't have winters. Not much of them. I bet it didn't get below freezing 3 times this year.
Yeah. And now, of course, we're talking to people in St. Louis and New York where it snowed 3 days ago.
Right.
So they're probably not feeling sorry for us too much down here. So this spot that you've got carved into the woods, I mean, I'm seeing pine trees. It looks like a water oak to me. Is that a water oak?
It's a red oak.
That's a red oak?
Is it?
Oh, you know what? Surely, by golly, it
Red oak.
is. There's another red oak over there.
2 red oaks.
Pine trees, a beautiful setting. and we have Ron built this pond. So tell us about your pond. Let's talk about that.
The pond is 3/4 of an acre. Of course, whenever I dug it, like a lot of people, I thought it was going to end up being 2 acres.
Yeah.
Just studying the pond, pond management and learning things from you. Just went with it. Got some dirt guys. They had an idea what I wanted.
Did they build it like you wanted it?
They did, but I know a lot more now. If I could go back and do it over again, I love the pond. The pond's been successful. You've seen it. But there are some things that I didn't know that I know now, as far as for points and travel paths for fish and bass. But I've got spawning areas. I've got ridges. I've got structure. If I could do anything over again, I would put artificial structure in everything. I'd have.
So what do you have in here? You've got. I saw some moss backs. I see some other products you got around.
I've got moss back. I've got Pond King. I've got stuff that I've made myself. Pallets. If the only wooden piece of structure I'd put in a pond, personally, me in a small pond, would be pallets. But I make a lot of my own structure. It's kind of like the fish. Limiting feature on the fish is they're limited by their mouth size, so I'm limited by my pocketbook. So
we all have limits.
You do what you can do, but I'm a big fan of artificial structure.
Yeah.
Oh, there's my wife.
Cool. There's your bride walking up.
That's right.
Holy cow! You married way outside
babe.
your coverage.
Watch that bee.
Woo! You married way outside your coverage, dude. Speaking of coverage, does Louisiana have a football team?
They do.
What?
I think they do.
Man,
I think they got 2 of them.
Holy cow, they do. Boy, was LSU fun to watch this year.
Fun.
Go Tigers! Oh my gosh,
and
I watched a bunch of their games. They're just so fun to watch.
You're
play.
the Joe Burrows upon or the Drew Brees upon management. That might make some people upset out there. I don't know.
Hey,
how about the Bob Lusk upon management?
There we go. I like that. Hey, look at there. I see Karen Lundquist, long time dear friend of ours. I know where they are. They're hunkered down in Little Elm, Texas. John and Karen, good to see you guys checking in. There's Andy Benson checking in from Mossback Fish Attractors. There's some mossbacks out here in this water right behind us. Good to see you there, Andy. Kyle McKean, stay hydrated. Yeah, I'm being hydrated right now. Ron brought some good hydration.
Yeah.
It's if it was good enough for the faithful, it's good enough for us,
Right.
isn't it? That's right.
That's right.
Kyle McKean says he's the Jerry Garcia of Pond Boss. Woo! I see Harrison Davis checking in. Good to see Harrison. So now, just your thought process, Ron, is you wanted a place where you and the family could escape and just come out, and it's not that far from where you live.
It's not 30 minutes.
So you're 30 minutes, you're here, and you got the Ron Caban, which we're going to look at here in a little bit. And one of the most impressive things to me is the way that you've stocked the pond. Ron was telling me today that he's a little bit worried that he overstocked it. And so we were talking about that. So this pond is how big?
3/4 of an acre.
So it's 3/4 of an acre.
It shrinks when it fills up with water. You might think, a lot of people think they have something really, really big, which I wanted 2 acres. I thought I was going to have 2 acres. When it filled up and you put it on Google, it's like, oh my gosh. But that's what it is, 3/4 of an acre.
And so you stocked how many fish in it?
I think 2,800 copper nose and 500 red ear, because I was going off the fact that I thought it was 2 acres now.
Okay.
What I do in per acre, I stock 1,500 copper nose and 300 to 500 red ear. That's kind of my recipe for per acre. So whenever I look at this 3/4 of an acre, I feel that I have overstocked. And here in a little bit, you'll see the fish, our fish eat. And
yeah, the feeder's set to go off
yeah.
at 7 o'clock, so you guys be sure and stick around for that.
I've got a lot of them.
I got a feeling it's going to be a show. So let's talk about the consequences of overstocking bluegill early on. What do you think it is?
Well, they're going to. It's all about food. It's all about food. They're going to eat. They're going to eat whatever they can. They're going to rob each other's nests. They're going to rob, bass nests.
Which means they're also going to breed with each other. So you're going to have some genetic diversity.
There's going to be, and down here, with the weather and the warm temperatures, I'm telling you, they spawn twice as much as they do somewhere else.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's kind of a good thing I'm kind of in a lucky spot because I got with the temperature through the winter, I've got constant algae blooms, and I've got brim that are spawning more than most. So I'm just kind of worried. I know that I'm going to have to make a decision sometime soon. Usually it takes 4 or 5 years before we start, harvesting the fish.
Well, 3 to 5 in there somewhere.
So
yep.
Maybe I need to do it sooner. I don't know.
Well, now you stock some bass too, right?
I did stock some
So
bass.
tell us about that. So you stock the bluegills in the red area is what, little bitty fingerlings, 1 to 2 inches
1 to 2
long?
inch bluegill. I probably put 5 to 10 pounds fathead minnows.
Okay.
Of course, the fathead minnows, they don't last but a year because that's for your first year bass. And I believe I stocked 125 hybrid bass.
F1 tiger bass?
F1 tiger bass.
Okay, all right. Were they feed trained?
They were not feed trained.
Okay, all right. Look at that. There's my wife checking in. Hey, honey, we're drinking wine from a goblet
Yep. Game of
that
Thrones.
Ron's got.
Yeah. Game of Thrones.
And the wine's from the Game of Thrones, too. There's Chris Ketchum checking in. Danny Mack added 6 of those round PVC thingies with PVC sanded and 2 mossback attractors. One of those that Andy Benson contributed at the Institute of Higher Pondology back in the fall.
Really see.
So greetings and happiness there. Good to see it. Matt Hines is checking in. My wife, Debbie Dobbs, Jim Morgan. Jim Morgan, buddy, I listened. I tuned in on my app and listened to your sermon on Sunday, and I loved it. Psalm 23. That was a good way to look at it for people that are a little bit panicked. I keep hearing fish flopping.
There's fish flopping.
Can you hear fish flopping?
Yeah.
Matt Hines, Steve. Now, Steve Lewis is recently retired from the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission. He knows more about how to raise baby bass and raise big largemouth bass as anybody on the planet. He just does it quietly, and he's got a little small fish farm over there near Hot Springs, Arkansas. He grows Florida bass over there. So we got some cool people watching this, dude. You're fixing to be even more famous than you were. Holy cow! The Lunk was checked in and was worried you were. Yeah, I am in quarantine. I was quarantined in my truck for about 6.5 hours. I'll be quarantining it again, and now we're maintaining social distance. I got my tape measure and everything.
I can't even reach him.
Yeah, see, he's way behind me,
I can't see
and the wind's blowing. So we're not too worried about coronavirus. If I get it, y'all are going to kill me, I'm sure. But hey,
oh, there. Well,
you know what? We're in an
behind right here. My bad.
See. And see,
I'm trying to get used to how Bob does this stuff. I've never been on his side of it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at his cell phone and I'm looking at the computer. The computer's a little bit behind. So
yeah.
Pardon me.
Yeah. So, but we're not behind.
No, we're not behind.
We're still ahead. So let's see here. Oh, I guess the Lundquist called my wife and said that what's your husband doing in Louisiana? Agriculture. That's one of those businesses that has an exemption. Plus I get to get paid tomorrow. So, and you know what? And when a guy says I'm cooking Cajun food and I've got 2 bottles of wine and a bottle of Nexium in a text, it kind of sways you. You need to really go do that. I haven't been around anybody. I'm carrying my dadgum. I should have brought my little Lysol wipes.
I got him.
Yeah. So we're clean. We're not touching. We're not breathing. We're not sneezing. We're not hacking, and we're not going to. So. John Wilson, greetings, buddy. Hope you're safe and sound up there in Ohio. Harrison Davis, you mind you to check the man's ID on the other side of the... You see somebody fishing behind us? Holy cow.
Where's this guy? Oh, can you see her?
Oh, my wife's getting on to me here, Ron. She said, don't say you're in quarantine. You had everybody up... Okay, okay, so I'm not in quarantine. I'm not sick. I have... what do we call it? I'm something in place.
Boudinitis.
Yeah, I had a little boudinitis, so we're going to have a little boudin. So, look at there. There's Ryan Tomlinson checking in from Opelousas. Look at there. Frank James, does really warm winter help bluegill spawn more than largemouth bass? Sounds like that would be usually a good thing. Talk about that.
Let's see, where are you?
Frank James says, does really a warm winter help the bluegill spawn more than the largemouth bass?
I definitely think so. Down here, I'm telling you, we didn't get below, I don't know if we got below freezing 1, 2, 3 times. And then so that puts the during the day, that still puts it back up in the 50s and 60s. And, you only get 2 days of cold weather and then it's back to warm stuff. So, I definitely think so.
So do you think your bluegill have 5 or 6 spawns a year here?
I think they have more than that.
You do? You think they have 7 or 8?
I think they do.
Okay, so the upside is that he gets 6 or 7 spawns, but I would bet you that the bass probably spawn twice here, and especially when you get big ones. Now your bass probably only spawn once because they're. And what's really cool about this is these fish were stocked when? Two years ago.
The bluegill brim are 2 years and about 3 months. They were stocked in December 12th in 2017.
Okay, so they're in their 3rd year.
So the bass would be in July of 17.
Okay, so you got some bass now that are knocking on the door of 2.5 or 3 pounds.
I've got some, yes.
And they've got all the food they can eat. I don't know that their ability to spawn is disrupted, other than he's got so many bluegills in here that they could be robbing nests of young bass. So one of the things you're going to want to check is to be sure you've had reproduction of bass.
Right.
Which means that out here, probably about July, I'd be pulling the seine through here to see if you've got any little bitty bass, about that long. And if you do, then you're going to have, thanks, Chris Chavetta, self-isolation. That's what we're doing, not quarantine. Let's rewind. I didn't mean to imply that. We're self-isolated way out in the country. There's Clark Cole checking in from Weatherford. Jim Morgan, everything at Kingfisher has been postponed, so he's going to be fishing Richmond Mill Lake by himself for the foreseeable future. Tough life, social distancing. And we were talking about, he was asking me what's some of the biggest bluegill I've ever seen. By far, Richmond Mill Lake has produced the biggest and the greatest quantity of big bluegill I've ever seen. Bruce Condello caught a 3 1/4 pound. There's a guy there that's named Robbie that's caught several over 3, although I've never seen him on a scale. I've seen Bruce's on a scale. So that lake grows some gigantic bluegill. And of course, Jim Morgan's made a commitment to grow some big fish, because over there in that part of the country, the water chemistry is totally different than it is right here behind us. So Gary Hempel finally found Aquamax 4000. It's kind of hard to find. Yeah, 4000 is a really small sinking pellets.
Well, I thought that was 300, but.
Well, what the 4000 is, and it may be 300, I don't know all the terminology, but 4000 is used by fish hatcheries mostly to feed train young fish.
Could that be a sinking powder?
No, it's
down here. I use Aquamax 300.
Yeah, no, it's a little bigger than that. It's a little bit bigger than cornmeal.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong there, Gary Hempel. So tell us a little bit more about your one thing I do want to talk about is the stocking rate that you chose on the bluegill. I don't think you overdid it. I think what you did was set the stage to grow some really big bass really, really fast.
I did.
So you've got a food chain that's going to support those fish for a long, long time.
My goal was to, at first, grow some really big bass. I know the biggest bass that I have caught so far. Is my chair uncomfortable, Bob?
No, my butt's flat.
Uh-oh.
Butt's a little flat.
Is there something we can do?
Quit looking.
Okay.
No, let's talk.
So my goal was to grow some really big fish fast. That's why I chose the hybrid, the cross between the Florida and the real aggressive northern. So that was my goal. And I think things are going great with the pond, but here's the thing with so many, the bluegill are outrunning the bass. I think they're really taking off. Of course, I feed them 4 times a day, and my feeders are going off 20 seconds, per feed.
So you're going through a little fish food.
I'm going, and I'm putting some money into it, but man, it's paying off and it's fun. The bass are getting big. The biggest one I've caught so far is 2.6 pounds. That's 2.5. I know I have a 3-pound fish in here somewhere, because that fish I caught, that was back in November.
Mm-hmm.
So I know they've grown. So I'm just, the pond's only 3 years old, so I know just to be looking for something, keep it going the way it's going, but I know somewhere I'm going to have to make a move somewhere because things are going to change.
Yes. Okay. So what you are now with your pond management strategies, you're on point.
I'm expecting something.
So you're being proactive because you're not quite confident of what's going to happen with this big abundance of bluegill. I mean, we can look behind us, folks, and there's bluegill that range in size from 3/4 of an inch up to several inches.
Yeah.
And you can see them right here in a minute. When the feeder goes off here in about 10 minutes, you'll be able to see these fish feed, and that's part of the fun. And that's why I'm here. Bob Wisher wants to know what kind of. Now, Bob Wisher works for Purina Mills. He's a sales rep. We got Tim Jackson that's on here. Here's Bob Wisher checking in. What fish food are you feeding?
Let me show you. I
Holy cow. He was hoping
some...
somebody would ask this question because he got several things he wants to show you. He's got some props here, folks.
Here it is.
Look at this. Right here. Holy cow. Look at that. Bring that across here. Yep.
That's what I'm doing right here.
Oh, there's a good breeze. We're social distancing even more. So you got Purina Aquamax 600. Now, why'd you choose 600?
I chose 600 because I want the big fish to eat, big food.
Let's see the back of that sack.
Oh,
because
you see your face?
Hey, no, my wife does. Honey, back me up here. Help me out, because I know that you're going to say, why didn't you have him show their back? Oh, there it is.
There it is.
There it is. Everybody else has got their picture in the post office. Mine's on a feed sack.
Knock our wine over, but
that's okay. There you go. There we go. So, and there's instructions on the back of the sack, which I got to help write those instructions. Did you read them?
No. Here's the 4,000 right here.
There you go. Okay.
There's
all right.
Catfish on it.
Okay. All right. Yep. Well, maybe Bob Wisher can help me out here. Aquamax Pondfish 4,000. That's actually, you know what? Yep, he's right. Pondfish 4,000 it's more of a it's a grain-based fish food that's designed more for catfish, supplemental feeding, things like that. So that's good. That's good. You just got an attaboy from Bob Wisher.
I start out with when I put fingerlings in, even though they slow down during the winter with our warmer weather. I think these fish, they're eating. You know, the water temperatures, they're gonna
bluegill start feeding at 46.
They're gonna eat. So I start my fingerling fish out when I stock a pond. I will have them throw, and it's more expensive because it's just a finer pellet. But it's about $90 a bag.
But it's
it's sinking.
Yeah, but the protein levels are way higher.
Yeah. So it's.
I see Mike Dement checking in. Bob Wisher says it's for dense stocking levels for tilapia, so that 4,000 is more for tilapia than anything else. Gary Hempel says his MVP is on order, so it's coming in. That's good. Let's see who else we got here.
You want to tell them how I catch my big broom?
Sure. Shannon. Let's see here. Let's see. We got Shannon Kane checking in. Mike Dement's checking in. Mike, you're going to get to meet this guy because he's going to be coming to the next Institute of Higher Pondology, which we canceled. No, we didn't cancel it. We postponed it due to the nationwide crisis. So we're going to reschedule that before long. It won't take long. There's Bear Brundrett checking in. Drew Hayes. Drew Hayes is going to be coming to the same one. Drew is in the pond management, in the pond building business, getting into the pond management business, more so up in Pennsylvania. And Shannon Kane says, howdy. Frank James says, I thought tilapia help mainly by increasing bluegill survival. They do. Tilapia help increase bluegill survival, but they also eat a lot of algae. Now, you don't want to put tilapia here. They won't die in the winter. It's real important if you stock tilapia, you want them to have cold water. And plus, I think tilapia are not legal in Louisiana.
I don't even mess with
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're not legal. So Harrison Davis said, what's the average relative weight of your bass in the summer and average Setchi disc reading? The pond looks healthy and green. So what's your visibility?
It can get really clear, but what I've learned. And
what's really clear mean?
Really clear is probably 36 inches. That's really clear, but I'm lucky down here. I don't have to add fertilizer. The pond is fertile.
But that didn't happen by accident.
No. So when the pond was dug, I was so worried about erosion. I wanted to get some vegetation, and this was before I knew really what I was doing. I got lucky on it, but what happened was when we dug the pond, as soon as the dirt guys left, we threw brown millet in, white millet, brown top millet, rye grass, any kind of grass, anything that would grow, just to give the fish, some vegetation and to stop runoff. So that probably wasn't really smart. I don't recommend anybody doing that, but I kind of lucked out on it. So what's happening with me now? So the pond's 3 years old. I think that all this grass, once the pond filled up, all this grass had died, and it's just added nutrients. So what did we do to get this grass to grow? We fertilized it before it filled up. So
you fertilized the grass. The grass grew. Jim Morgan wanted to know what kind of wine we're drinking out of the goblet, so I just showed him.
It's pretty cool. I don't know.
Yep.
Smoky
and so
barrel. Bold and Complex.
Coming out Bold and Complex from Washington. There we go.
So I think I have enough nutrients in the pond now that it keeps it keeps the bloom going with the warm temperatures, and I'm lucky for that. Now,
So do you have much flushing when it rains? You have water flowing out the
no,
spillway?
I've got muskrats, so my pond stays low anyway.
Oh, so you got muskrats chewing through the dam a little bit.
I don't know if we can see that. But...
Yep. Well, you might have to get on them. So the other question Harrison wanted to know is what's your average relative weight of the bass in the summer? So your bass fat, skinny?
They're fat. They're fat.
So the relative weights are over 100.
90 to 100. Yeah.
90 to 100 all the time, and probably over 100.
Over 100,
I saw one
yeah.
today that I promise you was probably about a 110. There's Bruce Condello. He would probably love to see a bluegill. Nod your head, Bruce. Oh, yep, he's nodding his head. I don't know what he's sipping on tonight, but I'd like some.
Where did he go?
So, matter of fact, we
I'm
might be able
looking
to.
for my people.
Yeah, Ron's got people.
Bob's
So
got me. He had me working all to get this together. We were on the porch, and then we were out in the yard.
yeah.
You know, so I know where the boss comes from.
Hey, this is the only time I ever get to boss anybody. When I'm home, I'm not the boss. I get to sleep with the boss. She gets to sleep with the pond boss. I got to sleep with the pond boss. You know what? Well, yeah, when she lets me. Let's see here. Holy cow, we got a bunch of questions. Tim Stewart wants to know how many bass you stocked. You stocked 125 bass. They were all F1s. Let's see what Chad Sepulvedo's got. Bob, any reason my bluegill would quit coming to the feeders? There's only a couple of reasons that bluegill would not come to the feeders. They were starting to come in early March, but not hardly show up at all. But the feed train bass show up on time every time. Any ideas? Yeah, if the feed train bass are coming, they're not going to let the bluegills come eat. So what I would do there is I would set my feeder to feed the bass, and then 5 minutes later have it go off again and see if or maybe 10 minutes. And if once the bass eat and they go home, they're not going to come back until their next scheduled feeding. So you might be able to sneak in a feeding of even if it's only like 3 seconds or 4 seconds and get the bluegills to come in. Bluegills start feeding in March because they feed in cooler water than bass do. Once the temperature gets up to where bass are going to eat, they're going to come to that feed if they're feed trained fish. Bear Brundrett, go ahead.
To say something else on that, actually, everything I'm saying I've learned from Bob. But check the depth of the water that you're feeding in. If you're feeding bluegill in deep water, that gives the opportunity for bass to come up and ambush them from underneath. So, like the feeder that's fixing to go off right now, this water's only 2.5, 3 feet deep. So that's something that I've learned to look for when I set up feeders. I don't put them in deep parts because those, hey, the bass, they're going to know, the brim, they don't care. They're going to come to the food. The bass is going to come up from underneath. And so whenever the brim figure that out, they're not going to come to the food.
Yep, they're going to run from it. That's right. Yep, Jim Morgan says, Bruce likes Jack. You know what? I've been with Bruce. Bruce likes Jack. Okay, so now then, let's see. Bear Brundrett says, just filled my feeder. I've had a green sunfish issue. Now it looks like I'm getting a green sunfish copper-nosed bluegill hybrid. Any ideas? You bet. Now, here's what Bear had. Bear had Mike Otto build him a lake. Now, inside that lake was a small pond, and they had gone in, and I think they tried to kill the fish in the small pond, but I think that there's a pond right above it that's got green sunfish in it. So, there sets the stage for your green sunfish. So if you have a hybrid, catch them, because those things are going to grow fast, they're going to eat fish food, and they're going to be easy to catch.